Today I got to sit down with Andrew Whelan. Andrew, who's become a good friend of mine, is a 24-year-old realtor who has absolutely crushed it in terms of volume this past year. He's got some amazing insight and advice into succeeding in the real estate business and lays out how he has done exactly that. He's had some incredible success stories, so I'm super excited for you all to hear it. Today, Andrew's going to talk about some of the challenges and opportunities of being a young realtor and how to make it work in a tough market. He'll also be sharing some tips and tricks to grow and expand your reach in the industry, as well as some of his favorite resources. So, without further ado, let's meet Andrew. All right, Andrew. Appreciate you coming on today, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
A little awkward here.
Yeah, I know I got this thing in the way.
Yeah, you can move it around if you want. So have you on here. I appreciate you coming on today. You're the third realtor so far from Realty One Group in
Awesome.
Bedford.
Yeah.
And I love hearing all you guys' stories. I'm not going to tell you who I had on last until later. There's a reason for that. But one of the topics that we talked about a lot was the brotherhood that you guys have at your brokerage. And that's like one of the most fascinating things to me, just because, we were just talking a minute ago about like how, the competitiveness in
It's
you guys'
crazy.
office is
It's-
unreal.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's panning off just from your stories and things I can see on Instagram. So tell me a little bit about how that brotherhood in that office has really shaped your career.
So I worked at Being Group for about a year, maybe a year and a half, and I switched because, well, I really didn't know too much about real estate. My broker, he left Being Group about 2 months into me working there. And this was during COVID. So I Zoom interviewed different agencies. And when I had a very tough question about a purchase and sale agreement because I was submitting an offer, he took 24 hours to get back to me. I got him on the phone and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm not your broker." I'm like, "Who is? Who do I go for questions?" And so when I went into Realty One Group at the office, I didn't just interview there. I interviewed other places, and I liked that I could grow my brand within the company versus it being more of a, I guess, like, what do you call those? Well, like one of the smaller brokerages where you have 5 to 10 agents, and like it's all one group. Like they're like almost like a team, but they're not. And so then when I joined, I really liked that I could always ask questions because my desk is literally right across from my broker's. I can see him. He probably is so annoyed because I ask like 15, 20 questions a day. And, or I'm just ranting about some stupid shit. Because like I closed a $702,000 deal in Londonderry and watched the other agent write that he did both sides. Not in MLS, MLS PIN, right?
Really?
Mass. So I couldn't even complain to anybody to change it. So Zillow wrote that like my past sales wasn't even there. So when I did join, it was Josh and then me. So it was just two of us younger agents in the office. And
So you were the first two young agents there.
yeah.
Okay.
So the environment wasn't what it is now whatsoever, but it was enough. Like, I guess you could say our, what do you call him? Jacob.
Yep.
So Jacob works in our office, but he was an office manager. So he worked there, but he wasn't an agent. He was licensed for a few years prior and then got into just dealing with the transactions for our brokerage and then is now back to being an agent. So it definitely changed the dynamic a lot because now we have him and a few other agents that are all our age. But to, I guess, really see, when I was at Being Group, I would see these 40, 50, 60-year-old agents do 10 million a year in their sleep. And it's like my excuse was always they have a sphere, right? Like they are established. Like I can't compete with them. And then to see other people putting deals on the board at our office that are my age, I'm like, there's no excuse. Like
Right.
not at all. And so now being in the office, it's just like so competitive. And I don't know where I read it, but like I read that people that are like the number one in their craft, whether you're like a Formula One car driver or like a pro basketball player, you have to want it more than anything. Like you're willing to sacrifice everything. And like your competitiveness is just crazy. Like you'll see a Formula One car driver put himself in a position where he could literally crash and die to be number one.
Right.
And so I feel like I'm at that position where like I'll do anything. But I mean, I hope that answers your question because
Yeah,
I kind of went on a
no,
little
it
rant.
does. It absolutely does. It was so, you know, that's kind of what I was trying to get at is like the competition, and it's like a healthy competition.
Yeah,
Obviously, like you guys have the board there, and there is a difference between the younger agents and the older agents. I mean, that's a given. You're right. They have a sphere, but what they don't necessarily have that's natural to them that's not natural to them, but is natural to us is what you said in the beginning of your explanation, which was like a brand,
yeah,
right? Like you are able to create a brand on the backs of Realty One. Like that's sort of, especially having all the young agents there. And I know that brokerage as the young agent brokerage now.
I feel like a lot of people look at us that way. And so it gives us like a good rep, but also gives us like a bad rep just because you have these established agents at other brokerages and they see that. So like you're writing up an offer or whatnot and they know of us or they don't like us because we have, I guess, people that are more frugal with their words all over social media. So it gives us a little bit of a bad rep for that stuff. But every once in a while, like agents know we're willing to do anything to get the deal done.
Right. Right. And then, yeah, that's what I've kind of seen from you guys. And, I think that, I mean, I don't want to say that you guys were the pioneers of branding. Obviously, that's a tale as old as time. But what I will say is that I think you guys kind of kickstarted this, like, at least in New Hampshire, in this part of New Hampshire, that sort of self-branding, social media content-driven marketing. Because prior to that, I didn't see a whole lot of it. I mean, I saw attempts at it,
Yeah.
but like a consistent schedule, like truly ingraining it into who you guys are as agents and as a brokerage is, clearly, yeah, like I said, you're known as, I think, the young brokerage, yet you guys do a shitload of volume. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah. I mean, I found it also tough because a lot of people in my office, even if they don't have like a sphere, right? So like friends, family, relatives that are looking to buy and sell, there are people always complain like, "Oh, I don't have a sphere." And then I'm like, I would pay for your sphere that doesn't exist because I have so many family members in real estate. Like when people think of real estate, they think of my mom. My mom's an agent. When I think of real estate, they think of my cousin, who's like the number 2 team in the state. Like nobody thinks of me. Like how am I going to market myself to my neighbors? They have those neighbors that aren't agents. I have my mom and my other neighbor that's an agent. And so it's like, how do I compete with that? And then how do I compete with everyone that I went to high school with or college? And some of the people that I'm competing with in the office are just a couple years older than me, but they went to college, and those college kids that they went to school with were going for like medical stuff. So they come out a little bit of debt. 2 years later, they're buying their first condo. They're buying their first single family house. And me being a couple years younger, I don't even have that yet. So I don't have that sphere. That's really the only thing that I can like tap into is like a little bit of college and high school. So,
And I feel like though that's sort of, I don't know, I would look at that as like a benefit in my eyes because it's like, on my quote unquote laziest days, I don't have a sphere to fall back on. So it's like, regardless, it's not like one day I could wake up and say, I'm just tired of doing lead gen all day, every day. Maybe I'm just going to try and stick to my sphere. I feel like not having that, it's just now not an option, right? And you
Yeah.
said like you said, you'll do anything at this point to make it happen. And so I feel like there's just not that excuse anymore for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, exactly. Like when I joined Realty One, I they have so much training and stuff like that to really tap into. Like I could sit down for the next 2 weeks and learn so many things that I mean I wouldn't say I don't know, but don't know to the extent that all of these things teach. And like most agents don't. And like we have courses on social media. Like we all have taken courses on how to have a sphere on social media. And so I think a lot of people also don't do that in real estate. There are so many agents that I know that don't tap into social media. And I really think that, like you said, New Hampshire, like, didn't really have much before us. But I've seen it all over the country. And, like, some of the people that I look up to in real estate would be, like, Ryan Serhant. Like, he comes across in a very professional way on social media, but it's still fun. Like, it's still something you would enjoy watching.
I feel like it's like a reality
Yeah,
show. Like when you watch some of his tours and stuff like that, he sets the scene like a Kardashians episode
exactly.
or something.
Even if it's not his listing, like you'd be surprised. He'll fly to Florida, like Martha's Vineyard, like these different places to show off these homes, and he has nothing to do with it. People, like other agents, will fly him in and like kind of pay him to just like come and do a video tour because he has such a big sphere.
Right.
And that's something else I want to get into is doing videos for other agents on these huge properties because I think that's a great idea. Because who wants to look at the $10th million home in Wyndham? I don't care. I want to see that $30 million penthouse in Boston that is so crazy that 99% of people, more like 99.99% of people you ever speak to could never afford it. But people love to go on Zillow and just look at those properties. Like,
Oh yeah.
oh my God, do you see this house has a pool on the roof? It's like, what the hell? It's so cool.
Yeah, just ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you can keep people's attention with those massive properties because nobody cares about another split or a ranch in Manchester or a Cape. Like, yes, it's a cool listing video. You can do some cool, fun stuff, but you're going to have their attention for 40, not even 40 seconds, maybe 20.
And the attention only of those who would like be interested in that property.
Exactly.
But the reality is like that penthouse, everybody is gonna watch that video.
Yeah.
Because you hit a threshold where you're like, I can't afford this. I'll
But
never
it's
be
so
able to afford
cool.
this. But it's so cool. It's like reality show.
Yes. Yep.
And I feel like too, if you can get access to a property like that, it subconsciously just tells everybody like, no, this guy's got connections.
Yes.
Regardless of if it's his
Yes.
listing or his
Uh-huh.
buyer,
'Cause
he got in.
I've worked it so that I understand what you do have to say when you do videos, even if they're not yours. Like you could just simply say, you don't even have to say, hey, this is not my listing on the video. You could just straight up say, this is what $30 million will get you in Martha's Vineyard.
Right.
Like I'm not saying I'm the listing agent. I'm not saying I'm a buyer's agent.
No, you're just Andrew doing a house tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, at that
Yep.
point. Yeah, I mean, I like that idea a lot. I think it's a matter of getting the access to it once you do. The reality is, I mean, if you're a legitimate agent,
Yeah.
like with even even a small following, but a following that's quality, I can't see an agent just saying hard no, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I've actually reached out to a lot of agents, and this was like March of this year to do something like that. And then everything started to just take off, and I just like lost the time. But I reached out to agents, and some were open to it, and some were like, "Oh, the sellers are pretty private. They don't, they didn't even really want me to do, like have a sign in the ground." Like, cause there was a place in Wyndham that was for sale for like 150 days. I'm not sure if you saw it. It was like 5.5 million, but it's got like turquoise shutters, It's like pink brick.
Oh,
Everybody
I
knows
know.
it
Yeah,
when
yeah, yeah.
yes, because it sat there for so long. And I asked to do a video for that. And the agent's like, oh, unfortunately, they're super, super private. It's been tough, to say the least, with this listing. And so I watched it go back on market, I think with the same agent. But, I mean, that thing's not going anywhere. Every single room is like a totally different style. Like when
Yeah,
you
that
really,
was like a old like one of those wealthy colonials up on the hill
yes.
type houses. Dude, there was a house in Beverly, Mass for 20 mil. It was built in like 1920, completely redone. It was like 20 something thousand square feet. It's one of those houses where you just look at it like this is beautiful. Like it's right on the water. You drove up and it was just a tree lined driveway for like a quarter mile,
Yeah.
gargoyles, like one of those old brick stone houses. But stuff like that, where if you could get access, I mean, that house was on the market for 200 and something days. I mean, it's also $20 million, and who's dropping that in mass? Not many.
Yeah. So I saw a listing strategy, and this was over on like the West Coast, and it was an agent, and what they did was they listed it for the most expensive home ever sold. It was like, I don't know, like, say, I'm just saying a number because I don't know, say 300 million. Like, it would make no sense. Home is not worth that. But they knew that. They said, we're going to list this home for a ridiculous number, okay? Because every news outlet in the world is going to go crazy when we're the most expensive home ever listed in America.
And it's
And
not like it's not like a typo, because you probably look at the house and say, all right, well, it is a nice house.
yes,
It
yeah,
probably fits
you're like probably worth like, I don't know, just shy of 100.
right.
Like a crazy number still, but like it's not worth 3. But it's you have that title. All these news companies are writing up articles about it, and now you're everywhere. And now you're the house that was the most expensive home, and when a buyer comes in, they got a 200 under ask.
Right.
Yeah, it's the story, right? When you get into a certain price point with homes, it's the story. It's, oh, Warren Buffett lived here, right? Or this is just like a famous artist.
I see that in descriptions, because sometimes I will scroll through those houses and I see
Yeah.
it's like this is yeah, like Warren Buffett's old house, or this is, like Justin Bieber's old house. It's like once you get to that price point, you're not dealing with people who are buying for logic. They're buying out of emotion. It's purely emotion, because they can. There is no
That, and they buy the story because
right.
like it's not necessary for these billionaires to drive a Bentley or a Maybach. Like it's not at all. But this is the only Maybach ever made in this color, right? It's the story. It's being able to have something to talk to people about. You almost have like that super nice $1 million house just to invite clients over. So when they see it, they know they're dealing with that guy, you know? It's like, yeah, they could have a garden style condo any day of the week here in New Hampshire, but no, they're going to buy it on Martha's Vineyard. And when they want to do a $100 million deal, they're going to invite you to it. And you're going to stay in the guest wing of the house, and you're going to
The
feel
guest
like,
wing of the guest house,
yeah,
probably
exactly. Yeah. So it's like, it's the story. It's this person lived here. And then you start talking about homes. You start talking about this, you start talking about that. Like people will pay big bucks for a story.
over there. Right. Right. It's crazy. It's crazy. I wish, I mean, I do and I don't wish that we had some of those insanely priced houses around here.
I really do.
I
Because
do, because of commissions, and because, we'd have easier access to go take a look at them.
yeah,
But
100%. And I'm in the process of getting my mass license, and I've really thought like I don't want to do mass, but I really want to be that agent that has a personal driver. I want to be that agent that's like known for that city. Like there's no Ryan Serhant of Boston. There's not. I want to be the Ryan Serhant of Boston. And I've thought about, well, where am I going to find these big expensive homes, right? The only place I can think of is the Lakes region. But home sales peak in spring and summer and die off in the winter. And I'd be direct competition with my cousin. She double-ended a $15 million home. Like, you won't find that $15 million home down here. You won't, unless you're going to Boston. And so I don't want to be in direct competition with her. And, like, yes, the Lakes region, beautiful. But it's not like I walk out of my house and there's $1 million homes all around me. You have to go down those private streets to find the dirt road that leads you to the home on the water. And they don't want to sell until springtime because it's actually going to warrant them so much more money because it's a second, third home for these people.
Right.
Nobody's buying that as their first home.
No. No. If you are, that's a trust fund baby right there.
Yes.
And that's somebody you also want to get in with. But I know what you mean. Yeah, those houses is that street in Wyndham. I forget the name of it, but it's got some of the biggest houses on it in Wyndham. There's one that's tucked away behind a gate.
I think I know what you're talking about. There's 2 roads that I can think of.
Yeah, this one.
Is it?
Honestly, I don't want to give the street just because I know some people on the street.
Is it over by, not Castleton, the other one, like the wedding
Searles.
venue? Yes.
Yes.
So it's over there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking
yes,
about.
I know the neighborhood over there. Yes.
Yeah, and so there's houses on there that are 20,000 plus square feet.
Yeah.
I mean, like gigantic houses, and
But they never sell.
no,
Yeah.
they're inheritance properties.
Yeah.
The kids will get them. And I mean, I'm not dogging on them for that.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
Good for them. But yeah, it's like sending out direct mail. Those are the kinds of people like you meet. You need to be the agent at the private dinners that they get invited to.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
how you get in with them.
Yeah. And that's why some agents have such a stranglehold on these markets down here in Wyndham, like Salem, Pelham. But every once in a blue moon, one of those sells. Like, I'm talking 1 every 3 years.
Oh yeah.
If that. And so, like, no agent can sustain themselves off of, like, being the luxury agent that does 1 deal every 3 years. So
Right.
that's why it'd either be Lakes region or Boston. But I'm kind of thinking and leaning more towards Boston.
I think that's great. I think that's an awesome idea. I mean, I think that there's so much money in Boston. Well, I don't think. I know there's so much money
Yeah.
in Boston. That's a given. But I also think that there's like a lot of movement. There's a lot of shift between the 2 states right now. And regardless, I think having both licenses, I'm going for it too. I think having both licenses is a good idea. Just on the mere fact that there's just so much transitioning going on between the 2 states right now.
Yeah.
Like originally, it was just a mass move from Mass to New Hampshire. But I'm seeing a lot of back and forth now.
I'm seeing a lot of people in their mid-30s moving from Mass to New Hampshire, and people our age moving New Hampshire to Mass.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they're moving to Boston, they're renting, they have a job, it's stable. Then they find a husband or wife, and they're like, we want to settle down.
Right.
We want a house, and we can't afford anything in Mass at all, unless you're going like Western Mass, and
Right.
that you might as well be in the middle of the country.
Yeah, like Worcester, that's your closest city.
Yeah. Yep. So those are the people that are like, okay, we want to settle down, maybe have a dog, kids.
Right.
And then they're making the move.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, I think that there's a lot of transitioning between the two. So I think just optimizing both licenses is like, you might be able to get both ends of
Yeah.
every Mass deal. You know what I mean? If you position yourself right. So you're mentioning like you want to be the Ryan Serhant of Boston.
Yeah.
And that's a big ambition.
It's huge. Yeah.
And I'm not at all judging you for it, but I want to know, where does that ambition come from?
I feel like I never grew up and I was like, I guess I'm not well off, but I'm not like somebody that, because you see stories all the time of people that grow up in very bad living situations. It's like there's no money in the house at all. And those people, you can understand their motivation and their drive. Because Ryan Serhant said it before, there's a moment in someone's life where their back is against the wall, right? Like, what is your wall? And he mentioned it in his book and multiple times all over social media, is that he went to go buy a yogurt, and his car was declined at the grocery store. Could not afford it. His back against the wall, like nothing. So I can understand people that come from nothing to make something, but I guess it's really from when I was a kid, and I can't think of one scenario that put me in a position where I thought that I needed to just have the ambition and the drive to do more. But I mean, in 5th grade for Christmas, I was asking for stock in the stock market. I'm nuts. Like, what kid in 5th grade in elementary school is asking for stock? Me. Because, like, the person that I looked up to in the time was Walt Disney. And it's like, what kid doesn't love Disney World? But I was like, instead of going to Disney, I want to buy stock in it. And I still have that to this day. So I had a whole plaque. It's actually underneath my dad's name, but like he like gifted it to me because obviously at like I don't know what you are in 5th grade, but you're young. You're under 18. You can't buy stock in the stock market.
No.
So he bought it himself, but I have a whole plaque and I have 1 share in Disney. And so that was like my favorite gift and I'll never forget it.
You might have been the youngest owner of Disney ever.
That would be a nice thing to be able to say, but I don't know about that because I think Walt Disney had kids, right? Yeah, he did.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have been owners. You actually
when he passed. He passed before Walt Disney World was open. I actually know a lot of random facts about Disney. Like a lot.
It sounds like it.
Like he bought all of the land for Walt Disney World in Florida underneath an alias because Walt Disney Land in California was popping off. And so he thought if I go to the landowner in Florida, they're going to charge me millions more just because they know what I'm going to do. So he bought it underneath someone else. So he bought it then and just started construction. And so when they were first building it, there's 4 theme parks now, but there was only the one at the time. And he passed away before Magic Kingdom was opened. So he never even saw Walt Disney World open.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's like a lot of cool facts. Like you can buy a lifetime pass to Walt Disney, like all of the parks. Like Florida, California, I believe it's anywhere from like $50,000 to $60,000. But it'll give you like VIP lounges that nobody even knows exist. And the only people that really have them are people with a ton of money or celebrities that get them for free. And so there's different parts of the park that you would never even know you could go to. So like you could just, the connections you could make at a bar in a secret club in Disney would be crazy. Because so many actors work for Disney. So it's like, oh, let's go to Walt Disney World today. We'll just go and hang out. And they just go hang out at one of the bars because they want a break.
You should do that.
Right?
You should do that.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure your Disney share is probably up from when you bought it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely doubled in value, that's for sure.
It's funny you say that, too, because I wasn't in 5th grade. I was in 7th grade when I opened a brokerage account. Because you can open it you can open a custodian account. So, like the parents own it, and you're still on it, and you can make the trades. And it's funny you say that, because that's exactly what started my, like, investing love, was stock market.
Yeah.
I made like my first $2,000 or $3,000, I think I forget what age I was. I think I was 14, and I was like, oh, I'm loaded, I'm rich. I remember too, we were in the vineyard, and I woke up, and it was like, I bought like one of those vaccine companies.
Yes.
Because it was like COVID time. A little before, like right in the beginning, and I was like, no, it couldn't have been COVID time. It had to have been earlier. I don't know. Whatever. I just remember seeing that, and I'm like, all right, I went from like 300 in the account to like 3,000, and I'm like, all it took was a little bit of money to make a lot of money. And I'm like, all right, I followed stocks, and I'm like, okay, this isn't as predictable. And I was like, all right, well, what is predictable? Because I want a little bit of money to make a lot of money, but this wasn't predictable enough. That's how I landed on real estate.
Yeah, 100%. because real estate's not going anywhere. Stock market can. It's a lot more liquid. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you have that capital and you already have a ton of investment properties in real estate, stock market is a fantastic place to keep it too. Because like inflation is just going to keep bringing it up, like long term, like
Right.
long term. Like if you were just in like an index, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
I mean, unless the whole nation crashes, and I'm talking like the dollar's worthless,
Right.
but then your real estate's worthless. In
In
theory,
theory,
yes,
and
yeah,
in theory, because
because like you're always gonna need a place to stay.
it's
You're
an evergreen. I mean,
Yeah,
it's as evergreen as it gets. But yeah, I mean, your real estate's worthless in reality if there's nobody to buy it.
yeah,
I mean, it still holds equity, but if we're truly at a point where everything crumbles to pieces, the only other way, if without having somebody buy it, that you get cash is obviously a refi. But I don't think banks are giving out refis if that's the where the market's at. So in
yeah.
reality, yeah, everything does, but it was most secure asset. But my question for you is like that started my investment love, and that's like part of the reason why I don't pursue being an agent because I'm not really salesy. I'm not in the service side of things. I want to buy and sell, but you use that and turn to be a real estate agent instead of investor. So where was the love for the service business?
Oh, yeah. So I have worked, I think, 3 jobs for different companies. I was a hostess at one. I worked at Dick's Sporting Goods, and I worked at a car detailing shop. I think the longest I stayed at a place was 2 months. There's something about working for someone else and knowing that somebody else, it's like, we think of it, why rent, right? Because you're paying someone else's mortgage. Well, I'm paying someone else's mortgage because I'm working for them. I'm not building anything. I'm hoping maybe they give me a bonus. I'm hoping they give me another 20 cents an hour. And I mean, I started doing that car detailing company only because in high school I started a car detailing company myself, but it was winter time and I didn't have a garage to do it. So that was supplemental while I was doing my car detailing business. And when I worked for them, I took so many notes as to what they use, where they're getting their products, everything. So I mean, I definitely learned a lot. Springtime rolled around and I was making 2,500 a week car detailing. Like I had some of my friends, I was like, quit your job making $200 a week part time while we're in high school. I'll pay you 400 on the table right now. Like you work for me, and they're of course they're gonna take it because they'd work 2 hours a day for 4 days a week, and I'd pay them $400 because like I was making good money. I was door knocking, like I door knocked over a neighborhood in Salem. Like I love that neighborhood. I forget the name of it, but I had met some people that just wanted their cars done. I had met people that own companies that are like, I'm gonna do all my employees' cars every single month, and I'm like, they're like, that's a tax write off for us. And so I walk in the door and I'm like, I have 40 cars I need to do. And they're like, I remember the phone call. They called me like an hour after I door knock. And this woman, she's like, are you sure you can get that done? I'm like, yeah. I hang up the phone and I'm like, I'm panicking. I'm like, 40 cars? No, I can't get that done. I was like through the roof because it was like, oh my God, that's so much revenue off of knocking on one door.
Right.
And I had never done like 10 cars in a week, let alone 40. And I have my other accounts for other clients. But I mean, it was really just, it was a light bulb moment. Like when I was asked by my mom in high school, hey, can you vacuum the car? And I mean, I, I don't really like car detailing anymore. I mean, I've come across some really gross things and it's a ton of like labor work. But I loved being able to help people because so many people like having clean things, right? People will have people that clean houses or whatnot. And to be that guy that would clean the car, people still reach out to me. I'm like, hey, sorry, I don't do that anymore. Like, I have so much referral business, I could probably sell my contact list. Like, I could sell it for some good money, but um, I really just always liked the idea of owning a company or something. Cause like, I remember, um, like my dad explaining different parts of companies because my dad works for a publicly traded company, and I'd ask all of these questions and he would hate it because like back in elementary school I'm asking all these questions and it was always before bedtime. It's like,
No bedtime stories for you guys.
yeah, it was like, so what is a CFO's job? What is the difference between a CFO and a CEO?
And he's trying to
And
like dumb it down to an elementary level too.
yeah, and so he'd be trying to talk about all of these different things, and he's probably like, "What? Who the hell is my son?" Because, like, I mean, what kid asks for stock, or what kid's asking all these questions about? I just always loved business.
Yeah.
Loved it, and like, I love sitting down and just doing a profit and loss statement. I love that. I don't know why.
Well, I'm analytical too, so like I sat down and did a net worth sheet a week or two ago, and I was in my glory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I like that too. I understand that, but that was a lot I didn't know about you. I didn't know that you car detailed.
Yes. Yeah.
Did
Like,
that create your love for cars? Because you always post Porsches.
So I wouldn't say it created my love for cars. I had love for cars way before that. I probably had like 100 Matchbox cars, and my dream car as a kid, I believe, was like an Aston Martin, and like those are great cars, but like having seen the progression of it over the past 15 years, like quality's not where it could be, and I love Porsches because like for the Porsche that I like, the GT3 RS
Yeah.
992, it's a flashy car, but not as flashy as other cars you could get for the same price. You could buy a $250,000, $300,000 Ferrari versus the $500,000 Porsche that I love.
Right.
And so I'm not like the flashy kind of person because I would still daily drive so many other more normal cars
Oh yeah.
than a GT3 RS. But I mean, if I was doing that type of clientele for car detailing, I think it would have been different. But because my sphere at the time was moms with minivans, and then that's when I started getting accounts from companies. The moms with minivans, those things are like an atomic bomb went off. It made me hate my job. It made me hate my life. And then I started getting accounts for the company, and like those weren't bad because they had company vehicles too, and those were like so clean. But it's the employees that worked there. Once they started seeing that service was continuing, I don't care.
Yeah.
Destroy the car. We're gonna get clean next week anyways.
Right.
And so I would come across so much food melted to seats.
Oh.
I found so many nails. People chew nails and like spit them out
Yeah.
everywhere. I found an orange underneath the seat that I picked up. It ripped the carpet. There was no way to get it off otherwise. Like, it was so hard. It was
orange?
harder than a baseball. This thing was rock solid. And like that, and then just people will floss with stuff and just like hum it. I
Floss sticks. Oh.
do not understand it. Like, my car is pristine. Maybe not on the outside because I don't have the time to detail as much as I like, but the inside, I vacuum it twice a week. Like, that thing's clean. People that know me that have gotten in my car, I'm like, tap your toes.
Tap your
Tap your
toes.
toes before you get in my car. Yeah, 100%. So I mean, I keep.
You're one of those.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and that's the other thing is like, because like I've always been in the mindset of like saving your money and spending it on like assets. And so to go out and buy a Tesla Model 3, it was like killer for me. Like, I'm like, why am I doing this? I know I could go buy a brand new Honda Civic for more than like less than half the price. I could go out and buy a Camry, an Accord, like all of these more economical cars. But then you have agents that'll show up in the BMW or the Mercedes, and it's like, they do deals, you know? And that's the one thing I hate about real estate, because you could be a business owner and you could wear jeans every day, a t-shirt, and be like a brick and mortar. It doesn't matter. If you're a nice guy and you have good clients keep coming back. It doesn't matter what you wear. Real estate has image, right? I look like I'm 18, no matter what. And so I've had so many people that I'm going to listing appointments, and they're like, "Oh, how long you been in the business?" They love that question. Love it. And then I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I look like I'm 18. I get it. I get it all the time." So like to have that car appears with the image, right? And that's the one thing I don't really like about real estate. But instead of going for the BMW or the Mercedes, that being a car guy, I know they break down. They're very expensive to maintain. So I did my research on the cars. But a Tesla is something to talk about.
Right.
Whether you like it or you hate it, everyone has an opinion on it. It's like, because originally I didn't want a Model 3. I wanted a Cybertruck. And most people give me shit for it, but you wouldn't give me shit if I was going for a Mercedes. But if you're going to give me shit for it, it's something to talk about.
Right.
And so when I walk in the door of someone's house that I'm just meeting, it's not just like it's like you breaking the ice. I'm not talking that's like people are so nervous like, "Oh my gosh, how much do you charge? When do you think our home will sell?" Like they want to ask all these questions, but then small talk can be a challenge if you don't really have anything in common with them. They could be 7 years old looking for their last home, looking for a single level 55 plus community, and here I'm 24, like what are we going to talk about?
Right.
Nothing. But that breaks the ice. You show up in a Cybertruck, people are like, what on earth
What
is
is
that
that thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What? No,
And that's what
I
I was
like
getting
your
back
approach
to the whole people buy homes for the story.
right.
It's like, why did you buy that $25 million Rolls Royce? Because it's a one of one.
Right.
It's the only one that'll ever be made. It's the story.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, you're right about it being all image, man, because that doesn't change. That doesn't change, right? I did the same thing. I mean, it's not my car, but I looked at it was a 12 unit up in Maine, and it was 1.5 to 2 million. And I was like, yeah, I told my stepdad, I was like, listen, I got to take your car. You have to understand me. You have to understand this for a minute,
Yeah.
that if I show up in mine, they're not going to take me seriously. I'm a young
Exactly.
kid. They're not going to take me as seriously as if I show up in your car.
Yeah.
And that is the reality. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, though. I wouldn't even pinpoint whether or not it's good or bad, because, yeah, on one hand, it's a quote-unquote unfair advantage. But on the other hand, it's also incentive, right? It's like, okay, well, if I want to exponentially grow, and I know it's all about image, but I can't afford the image, then it makes me more competitive so that I can get to the next stepping stone, which is to afford the image. Once I afford the image, things become easier, right?
Yeah.
And so it can also be like a good push in the right direction.
I would agree with that. Yeah, 100%. And like I had a lot of clients over $1 million price point, and so I still own my '07 Honda Civic. It's missing a gas cap. It's got rust everywhere. Probably not street legal. As a matter of fact, I know it's not street legal. That thing is a death trap. And like the exhaust would
He's
bust.
talking all hypothetical right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the exhaust is literally rusted off. It is so loud, and it's like it's not
Straight
that,
piped.
yeah, I mean,
Nice.
it would probably be quieter if it was straight pipe. That thing is like is so rusted. And so that car was my car that I would mostly show homes in. But when I'd have those big clients, I'm like, Dad, I'm taking your car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Because like it's already hard to really compete because like I look young.
Well,
If
that's
I
the
got
thing.
out of
It's
the
finding
car-
an angle.
Yeah.
It's your way of finding an angle, and it's unfortunate, but it's true. It's like it's the same reason why, and this is actually a perfect way to get into the next topic, which is like I want to delve more into your personal brand, but like it sounds like your personal brand is really gauged towards like the luxurious type.
That's
like,
what I want to be. Yeah.
Like and it's easy to tell, right? Like I'm wearing a lumberjack shirt right now. You're in a suit. I got a SUV and you saw that hunk of shit F-150.
I was actually like, whose is that?
Yeah, that's mine. That's mine. Luckily, it's not my daily.
But
Still,
it's so
dead
nice
flat.
to have
Oh, I love
a
having
beater.
it. Well,
It's not even like a beater. It's something that you're like, because as a car guy, I park at the back of the parking lot.
I do too. Yeah,
But
we're always at the
in
back.
my Civic, I'm closest to the door.
Yeah, yeah.
I do not care.
Well, even with my truck, like that is truly like when you say beater, like I would just like, I mean, I wouldn't go around hitting public things, but like down at my
Yeah.
beach house, I would like drive into the side of a tree just for the hell of it. You know what I mean? It's like I had fun with that car.
Yes.
Because it's such a piece of shit. But like
it's something you don't have to worry about.
no, and you can
Yeah.
actually have fun.
Yes.
Kind of messing with things. So I did that and drilled through the roof of it to put that light bar on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But no, going back to what I was saying, like suit, the Tesla, right? And it, one of those things like you probably at the time bought it when it was above your means, but fortunately or unfortunately for this business, that was an investment.
Yeah.
And I think that this is one of the only industries you can actually call a vehicle an investment. It like it truly gets you from
Yes.
A to B, and you need that. That's imperative. But then the luxury level of that car is going to be not the only, but a determining factor in your success at some deals.
Yeah. Yeah, because like when you show up, you're not you could literally have a $10 million home and show up in my Honda Civic, and you could be the #1 agent in all of New Hampshire, and you show up to a $10 million listing, and they're not going to take you seriously at all.
Nope.
At all. They're like, what are you driving?
Yeah, what is this thing?
And that's another thing is like Ryan Serhant has mentioned it before. He's like, buy the vacation now for a year from now, because now you're going to have to work that much harder because you have to pay for that. It's coming up.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
all incentive.
that's what I did when I bought the car. I was like, I need a car. I definitely needed a car at the time, but like it was something that would give me the image
Right.
that goes along with real estate, and it's going to push me because I'm like, oh my God, those payments. We're
Right.
going from no payments, and I'm like, maybe I spend $50 a month on maintenance if you divide maintenance by a year, but so is a big jump.
Right.
Yeah.
How? This is a little off topic, but how is it like in terms of maintenance?
The Tesla?
Yeah.
I have maintained nothing so far, and I've put 35,500 miles on my car.
Like, would you say
I
it's
need
a
tires
thumbs up or
really, really bad though.
is it a thumbs up or thumbs down car?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up, like all day.
I am well within my warranty. 150,000 miles. Like anything.
That's the warranties.
It's
150,000.
Yes. So I've owned my car for about 9 months, and it's got a crazy warranty on it. The only thing I can think of that would be maintenance is windshield wiper fluid, windshield wipers, tires, and brakes. But brakes, I don't need to use my brakes ever because the car slows itself down. It recharges the battery. So I take my foot off the gas and it slows down immediately. So I could be going 60, take my foot off on the highway. I'm going 40 in like 3 seconds.
Oh, so
It's regenerative braking. So I don't even really use my brakes. So my brakes are going to last forever.
wow.
Yeah.
That's
So-
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, it makes sense with electric.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's another reason why I went into it, because I knew that maintenance for something like that, like tires, they're not cheap at all.
No.
And like I'm reluctant to buy some, but because it has so much torque and I never rotated them like I should have. He's like the guy at the tire place is like, you should probably do this every 4,000 to 5,000 miles to really get all of the life out of the tires. I didn't rotate or attempt to rotate until about 13,000 miles. And
already
he's
long
like,
gone.
they're too far gone.
Yeah.
He's like, nope, we're not doing this. So my rear tires are bald. My front tires, they're not too bad. But, I mean, you get a huge discount if you buy all 4.
Right.
So I'm waiting until fall. But those really rainy days that we've been having this summer, A car doesn't like it.
No.
No, like it's so hard to spin like a Tesla out because I have dual motor, so it's got front and back. But with like bald tires in the back, you'll definitely get it out, like the back end out for like a split second. But the car makes calculations so quickly that it'll just like straighten you out.
Right.
But having new tires on it is like crazy.
I'm sure. I had a Ford Fusion, and I remember taking it to get an inspection, and I get a call back. He goes, yeah, hey, everything's all good here except, this metal poking out of your tires, right? I'm like, did I run something over? He goes, no, that's how bald they are. He's like, I'm surprised they didn't blow up on the highway yet. I was like, he's like, I'm replacing them. There's no option at this point. I can't let you drive this away. I was like, yeah, I guess, yeah. But, no, so what I was saying though, like all of these things put together makes the personal brand shooting for like a luxury style. Is that, I assume from the sounds of it, like the mass license and things like that, that's your goal, is to get into ultra luxury real estate.
Yeah, I mean that's really always been the goal, but my broker has always told me it's like you can't go whale hunting, right? Because like you have no past sales. This is when I first started. Like you have like no real past sales. Why would somebody with $1 million property trust you, right? And so it totally makes sense, but you have to do the small deals with all of like the crazy shit to really understand every aspect of a deal. Like every deal I learn something new because there's always some crazy shit that comes up, right? And so with that being said, you can take that into your experience when you walk in the door of a $10 million home. And so at that point, they can trust the experience. You have the experience. You can show the experience. And you may not have sold a $10 million home, but you've sold 100 $500,000 homes.
Right.
And so it's like, it's not too much different. Like I can understand where there's things that are different. And I've worked with a lot of big buyers, and some of them have just bought in the Cape. And so like I'm in competition with the Lakes region or the Cape. And so some of the buyers ended up going there about a year ago. So I lost two multi-million-dollar buyers to the Cape. And it was a horrible feeling because those checks would have been crazy. But like something when you're doing a first-time home buyer, it's the first-time home buyer is just trying to get out of their parents' house. They don't want to live in the basement anymore. When you're doing a luxury deal, it's what way does the sun set? So every time I go to show a property over $1 million, the second I show up, I already have my Compass app opened up. So when they ask that question, because it is like routine, it's always when we're in the kitchen or the primary bedroom. Where's the sunrise and where's the set? And so I want to be the agent because usually there are assisted showings to, it sets that way. And the other agent's just like, and like they're the listing agent of this $3 million home. They don't even know where the sun rises and sets.
Right.
And so something you'd never think about. Like I have
Until you get asked enough.
Yeah, I have a client that's like, I want the house front door to face due east. And we found that this weekend. We found the home that points due east so that it sunsets in the west on the opposite end of the house.
You know what's crazy though? It's like MLS doesn't tell you that.
No, it should.
So like you have to go there now.
Yes.
I mean, I guess in theory you could like Google map it.
It's still quite tough because you have to figure out like where the windows are. Will this window allow for the sun to come in? And so when you're doing like I've noticed it like multi-million-dollar listings over in California, you'll have a video crew come in, and like here you'll do like listing videos and they last an hour, 2 hours trying to get everything ready. Over there, they will spend 12 hours at the house, sunrise to sunset, so that video captures every which way the light comes in because they know that somebody that's buying a luxury home cares so much about the way the sun rises and sets.
Right.
It's crazy.
Well, it's like again, like you said, we're just going back to the story, like the experience. It's to them, it's less a house, more an experience every day.
Yeah.
And the first time home buyer, like They're completely different buyers. And put aside the price range for a second. They're just completely different buyers with a complete different set of criteria.
Yeah.
And one's for purely logical reasons, and one is heavily sprinkled with emotional reasons.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and that's the other thing is like I really love, and I've heard it before that people that are interviewing to get into real estate, they're like, oh, I love homes, I love architecture. If you're a real estate agent and that's your reason for getting into real estate, don't get into real estate like at all. Don't even think about it ever again. Because, but I like seeing the way that some of these homes are designed, and I want to work with that luxury clientele to see more, to be able to talk about it. And here in New Hampshire, we don't really have those crazy cool homes because of the market that we're in, and it's an all-time seller's market. You have cookie cutter colonials going in 1, 2, 3, 4 right next door, and you're not going to get that. What is the style that they don't even like build anymore here? It's like it's still kind of common. I'm
A New Englander?
No, it's like a funky style. Your company just bought one or whatever.
Oh, mid-century modern.
Yes.
Contemporary.
Contemporary. Those aren't even a thing anymore.
Those are sick, though.
Yes.
I love those houses.
I want a contemporary home, but I want a modern contemporary home. Like something you'd see in California with like a flat roof, with like a garage attached that looks like it's concrete, with a glass garage opening like door. I want that weird home.
You know what's funny is my parents were looking at some houses in Costa Rica, and they had one of those. There was one house just like that. Like you drive up, it was up on the mountains, all glass, like
Yes.
total glass back, infinity pool. Like the hallway is like filled with art, and it's fully glass exposed to the front. Like one of those crazy houses.
Yes. That's what I want.
Those are, yeah, you don't find those around here.
And that's what I want to get into. And like you might find that in, no, I wouldn't say Boston, but you'll find like cool condos that are like 20 million.
Right.
And you might find some of those homes in like southern Mass, maybe like Martha's Vineyard, because I was looking at some of those today on Zillow. And that's when you get into like that really cool like style home where people really care. And you don't have that here. But I want to be that agent that does those cool homes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, in addition to kind of what you're doing now, like I said, the way you dress and the way you present yourself, how are you positioning yourself to appeal to that type of clientele?
That's a really tough question because, like, I don't really know. I mean, to position myself, I guess I would say getting my mass license. That's me taking my first step towards that specific clientele because I don't mind. I like doing $1 million home. Who doesn't like doing $1 million homes? But it's like doing like the $5 million colonial. It's cool, but it's not like, oh my gosh, this one is so different than the one right next door. This one has so many different features. And that's what I want to be able to talk about is like Ryan Serhant has so many different listings that are just so high end and they're so different. Like we have like 5 different styles here that sell, and it's like colonial, ranch, a split ranch, a cape. I can't even think of any other styles right now, but like just pretty basic styles.
Yeah.
Like we don't have anything crazy. And so I don't know. I don't really know how I'm trying to position myself to that just yet. I guess just my track record, I kind of,
Yeah.
to be able to. I mean, I've door knocked the place that I sold, the 1.1 in Hampstead. I cold called them. So, I mean, I guess doing that, like, hey, I've done this.
Oh, that deal that you closed or you got the listing for is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so you cold called them.
Yes. Yeah, I door knocked some of them, cold called some. Only one has sold in that neighborhood since, but I knew that one was going to be listed right after mine. So they already had an agent and whatnot. There was like some family friend. but none of the other ones have sold. And the people that I did talk to were like, hey, I would love to know what my home is worth, but if you told me the price, I would want to move. And they're like, I have kids in the school system. My wife would kill me. And so I'm trying to stay in touch with those people because, once the kids are older, hey, we're going to downsize from this 5,000, 6,000 square foot colonial because we don't need that space.
Right.
But that's not like the end goal.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that makes sense. I mean, there's going to be a point in time, like, usually you don't have door knockers in the multi-million dollar neighborhoods. I mean, sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's oftentimes not going to be like you're in the lower million range in the Hampstead area, but like that place in Wyndham.
Yeah.
It's like if you have a door knocker, if you're a door knocking agent in that neighborhood, I feel like it's looked upon. It's like you're already giving away that you're not the quality agent I'm looking for because you're door knocking.
There's no middle ground with it. It's not like, oh, like, this is cool, I guess. Like, it's either you're a very ambitious agent, and I totally understand because I'm a business owner myself, and this is fantastic. Nobody does this anymore. Or it's the opposite end. I hate you. Everyone has an agent. Get off my lawn. Don't ever speak to me again.
Right.
So there's no in between. Because, like, when I landed that big deal with car detailing, it was, oh my gosh, no one does this anymore. When I was cold calling, every once in a while I'd come across another agent. Like, oh, yeah, I'm a realtor myself. And I spoke with the sweetest lady, and she's like, no one cold calls anymore. No one. You're the first person in, like, 3 or 4 years. And she's like, you're so nice. And, I mean, she really doesn't practice real estate anymore because she's so old.
Faselic.
Yeah, and I mean, I know the address. I've driven by it. The house looks distressed. I don't think she's
if she's ever looking to sell,
I know. We could do a 3 realtor transaction.
Let's do it.
I don't even know if she's still holding her license, to be honest. I think she told me it was inactive, but she was like, nobody really cold calls anymore. And I've had people that pick up the phone and like, I know you. I remember you. And from like crazy things. And this was like a year ago. And I was cold calling like some places within my town, and people would be like, oh, I remember you from like elementary school. Yeah, you went to school with my son. So like I'd connect people on that level, but I've also had people on the other end and they're like, I'm going to die in this house. I'm like, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, can you tell me when? Because I'm going to try to be on that will. I've had people that are just like, yep, get me $550. And I mean, I already know the house is not worth $550. I know, like, just craziness over the phone. They would love to sit on the phone for 20 minutes. And they'd love to talk about how they want that price. And then there was one person who told me that. And they're like, want this ridiculous price. And then they're like, I'm like, hey, can I see the property in person so that I can show some of my buyers? No. Get me an offer before they see it. I'm like, no one's going to do that.
That's not how this works.
Yeah.
I cold call I was cold calling a duplex list, and I had one of those guys, and it wasn't a legitimate guy who was like, oh, I want more than I know my place is worth, but he's like, yeah, you going to pay me $1 million for this? I'm like, a dairy duplex? Probably not, sir. I'm like, I don't think that I'm going to be able to swing that. He's like, yeah, then fuck off and never call me. I was like, okay, great. DNC. I was like, I don't even want to call this guy. Even 3 years. I'll just wait for the obituary records on that place.
Yeah, I mean, I've had plenty of people tell me off on the phone, and I'm like, I love it.
Yeah, you just start toying with them.
Oh my gosh. It's like, it's bad. Because, like, why be rude? Like,
that's my thing.
I get cold calls from anyone and everyone asking for business of different companies. And I'm like, hey, I'm really not interested at this time. I appreciate the call because just if you don't do cold calling often, you're like Eminem. You're like knees weak, arms are heavy, palms sweaty. Like you're like tweaking. You're like, oh my gosh. At the end of the day, what's the worst they can do? Hang up on you.
Right. Like what I found was good for me too was to have a script like put together in front of me.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's I don't go off the script. You know what I mean? Like I haven't cold called in a while, but when I was cold calling more often, it was like there was a script in front of me. I knew what I was going to say. It was a little bit easier that way. But No, absolutely. I mean, being told off is like people will tell you off in person.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I've had it happen.
yeah, but I don't understand why people are so rude either. Because it's like I do the same thing. If somebody calls me, I say, listen, I'm not. Sometimes I'll even humor them. I'll be like, here's my email, and I have like a junk email that like I sign up for like the discount stuff at stores
I
and stuff
have
like it's
8 emails, so I know.
oh I have like I'm not even kidding you, probably no short of 20. It's ridiculous.
Google has shut me down for making more Google
Yeah,
accounts.
Google told me today. They go, I had to make another one today, and they go, there's already a number associated with a
this
Google
account,
account,
yeah.
and there's like 19 down the list. I'm like, ooh, this is not a good look.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably think I'm spam now, but no, I have a junk email. Sometimes I'll humor them because you know what it like as people who do cold call, like it's regardless of if you're having that day where everyone's just telling you off. If one person,
yes.
even if it doesn't turn into anything, if it's like halfway through your cold call list, it just gives you that extra bump. If somebody even humors you,
Just be nice.
just
Yeah.
be nice. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
that's my philosophy because I look at these business owners and I'm like, I understand. I've had a Jehovah's Witness show up multiple times on the doorstep. It's like, dude, listen, I don't think that you should be bothering people at their homes about religion. But this is a business person trying to hustle and make a living for a lot of people, for their families. Like it's like we're young, so we don't have that
Yeah.
responsibility, but a lot of people do, and it's like, you got to think, if you're getting a cold call, there's a good chance that this kid's got some mouths to feed. Why am I like? Clearly, he's struggling because if he's cold calling, he's not getting enough inbound. So he's out there trying to make deals happen that aren't coming to him, because there comes a certain point, like Ryan Serhant. I mean, let's be real here. How much outbound marketing other than social media marketing does he
No,
do?
he's claimed 0.
Right.
He claimed, and I believe it because his stats were he closed, I think, 430 deals last year. That's more than one a day. Like, you can't even go to every closing. And if you did, you wouldn't have time for new business.
430 deals?
I think it was over $1 billion in real estate. Because his price point is so high.
Well, I know. I get the price point, the billion. It's the deal count.
Yeah.
That's a ridiculous number. But yeah, that's what I mean. It's like that guy, he has a lot of inbound. And, there's a lot of people who do. But no, I'm big on just humoring those people. I'm not going to sit on the phone with them for 25 minutes, but I will humor them because I think that it gives them that extra push through whatever list they're going
100%.
through.
Oh, yeah. I've had, like, back when I would do a ton of cold calling, like, days where everyone was telling me off. And my days where people were just being super nice. And then I've had days where it's mediocre. And, like, to just have somebody be nice over the phone is just, like, the nicest feeling.
It heightens my day.
Yes.
It heightens my day because I have like a slight little bit of hope in humanity. I'm like, you know what? This person did not want to sell. They were busy, but they humored me anyways. There's just somebody out there who cares enough about somebody they don't know to at least treat them with respect. It sucks that our threshold now for a good person is just a minimal amount of respect.
Yeah.
Like that's our threshold for like, you're a good person if you're slightly respectful.
I feel like business owners understand the most.
They
It's
do.
like they understand like the hustle and where you have to come from to be where they are at, and they were in your shoes at the same, like, a long time ago, and so they understand it, and those are the people that will entertain it, and they're like, hey, I'm working with an agent, but I'd love to meet you in person.
That's
And
what happened to me. I sent out direct mail to a duplex list, and one of the women emailed me back, and she said, listen, I'm not looking to sell, but I really like your hustle. I don't really get any direct mail anymore. I don't get a lot of outbound marketing sent to me. And she was in real estate, but wasn't a realtor. She did, flips and wholesales, and she ran a RIA in somewhere in like Pepperell, Mass or something. It was too far for me to go to, but we met up, and like it's stuff like that where she understood it because she was actively looking for deals, and I'm actively looking for deals.
Yeah.
Hopefully she sells soon.
Yeah. The other thing is that 99% of the people you talk to aren't going to understand what you're talking about.
Right.
Because if you're trying to be part of the 1%, only that 1% that you speak to, 1% of people, 1 in every 100 are going to understand the hustle because they want to be the 1%. 99% of people will not.
Right.
And so that applies to everything in business, whether you're cold calling, 1 in 100 understand. Like they truly, genuinely understand. 1 in 100 will understand doing the things that are necessary to be where they're at or where they want to be.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, it's in that's why it's huge when people say like surround yourself with those kinds of people. It's not a matter of surrounding yourself like it's not a treasure hunt to find those kinds of people. Like,
Yeah.
and I want to preface that because that's what this podcast is about, is young entrepreneurs, and sometimes it can be tough surrounding yourself around the right kinds of people. But in all reality, it's not a treasure hunt to find these people, right? The 1 out of 100, because there's 100 out of 100 for the most part. Or I would say 90 out of 100 at the NHRIA, right? Like you put yourself in those positions where you meet people where all the 1 of 100s group up together. Yeah. Now you're in front of those kinds of people. And, just like I was saying, the private dinners for you, like that, you get your mass license and you start to do business down in Boston. That your whole job's going to be networking. Like that's going to be your marketing is going to be networking.
Yeah.
In meeting people and gaining people's trust at these dinners and at these parties. And I'm sure, you'll do all the rest of the typical marketing channels. But my point being, like, if you just make sure that, like I said, surrounding yourself putting yourself in those areas strategically where it's like you don't have to go searching for those kinds of people. They all flock to one spot, find that spot, and go put yourself there.
100%. Yeah. I think that's our office too. Like coming back to it is like we all want to be the number one agent. And so like being in this office environment where it's so competitive pushes each other to be better. And then when I was at Bean Group, it's all of these agents that are just going off of referrals. Maybe they're doing 12, 13 million a year off of not trying.
Right.
And it's like, even if I was doing 12 million, if I was doing 20 million, I could be doing 100 million. I want more.
Right.
I never want to go back in volume.
No, I love that. I love that. I was I think it was Waz and I who were talking, and we were talking about how like satisfaction is like in my eyes invisible in the entrepreneur's mind. Like there is no true meaning of satisfaction. Like
it's a blessing and a curse.
It's and that's what I called it too. It's a blessing and a curse because it's like on one hand, right, you want to grow. And if you're satisfied, you become complacent. It's a very simple concept. And there's no more reason to continue to grow. There's no more reason to push. But on the other hand, it's like you want to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And by fruits of your labor, I don't even mean the physical ones. Just feeling that mental satisfaction that you at least reached a specific goal.
Yeah. I feel like, I think it's a song. Is it called like Working for the Weekend or something like that? I don't know. Maybe it's lyrics in a song, like an old song, but like I feel like I'm always working so that I can take a day off. And I haven't taken a day off in like the past 60 days. And like then I'm like, oh, like the weekend's coming up. Not that I usually know what day of the week it is because I don't unless I'm looking at my calendar. Because like it was literally Saturday and I thought it was a Thursday last weekend. And it's like, oh, the weekend's coming up. Maybe I have some time to like do something interesting, something fun. And then the weekend rolls around and I'm even busier than weekdays.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because
my
most
average
of
number of showings on Saturday and Sunday is 7 a day. And it's like they're all over the map, like they're everywhere. And so I will leave my house an average of like 8:30, 9 in the morning on a Saturday. I'm home by like 6 or 7.
Right.
I don't have the time in the day. And like that's another thing I'd love to talk about is like time, because like it is the most valuable asset. I've seen videos online, people talking about if I could give you $1 billion right now, would you take it if you knew that you weren't waking up tomorrow?
Yeah.
It's like you're valuing your time more than $1 billion. Like we sit here right now and we're like, oh my God, $1 billion. That is so much money. But time is still worth more than that. And the difference between a billionaire mindset and a millionaire mindset is time. A millionaire, it's not hard to be a millionaire, okay? Because like you could have $100,000 income, you're putting all of your money in 401k, your retirement fund, all of these different things. In real estate, you could, like everyone knows, you buy a house 10 years ago for 200 and 300k, and now it's worth $1 million. It's not hard. And your millionaire mindset would go and spend the time shopping around for the cheapest flight from here to Florida. A billionaire goes and buys the private jet because they don't want to waste a full day flying. They want to spend 3.5 hours in a plane. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, I feel like I have that mindset is that like I have a transaction coordinator. I do none of my paperwork other than the purchase and sale agreement. I do nothing. She puts everything in my calendar. She tells me when I need to do things. And when she tells me to jump, I'm jumping. Because, like, I don't have the time to do 40 pieces of documentation per person, per deal. I don't. And, like, if I did, then I'm lacking finding new business.
Right.
And so, yes, I'm paying her, but, like, time is money. And it is more valuable for me to give her that job and pay her to do it than to do it myself. And that's why one day I want a personal driver. I want like I love driving. I've put 35,000 miles on my car in 8 or 9 months, and so
that's 35,000 happy miles.
Yeah, I love it. And like that's not even including me driving my Honda Civic because I still drive it. And like I want 8 other cars I could speak of right now, and like I would drive all of them. But I want a personal driver not because I don't like driving, but because it would save my time. I could use my phone, I could use my laptop, or having the private jet. I'm not using it, charter it. And then
Right.
when I do need it, I'm spending 3 hours to go to the place that I need to versus 12. I'm not spending an hour and a half in TSA on both ends, and then I'm waiting for the flight. Oh, it's delayed. No, it's not showing up. It's like, no. Time is one of the most valuable things because we only have so much time on this earth. It's one thing we literally cannot change.
It's the only thing that's finite in our
Yeah.
lives. It's like truly the only thing that's finite. I mean, you have the closest. I just want to add this. You have the closest thing to a personal driver. You have the cheapest personal driver.
Yes, and
So-
that's another reason why I bought the Tesla is because
Yeah.
I don't know if I should admit it. Maybe we don't put this online, but I have plenty of times to put my car on autopilot and use my laptop. Like
that's not illegal.
I'm like building a website. I'm building a website on my laptop in the driver's seat while it's driving.
Yeah, I don't think that's illegal because it's driving. It's like adaptive cruise control.
I don't know. It's a very gray area. It is a gray area.
I think it's only illegal if you get in a crash.
What?
But I'm saying
Yeah.
like we can put this in because it's like you haven't gotten in a crash. Well, it's on autopilot, so it's like
Oh God.
yeah.
I
So
mean-
I do think it's probably a gray area. But no, it's funny you say that. Same thing. I'm going to be hiring a couple cold callers, and I'm streamlining all my direct mail now. I had a couple of meetings about it today. It's like same idea. Time is money. And even when I talk to people, like I was talking to family over the summer, and I can't remember what it was. I had bought a couple of things, and they'd been like, "What? Why didn't you just do it yourself? Or why don't you just do it instead of outsourcing it or buying all this shit to?" I'm like, no, my focus is on making more money, not saving money I already made. I mean, there's a line. You don't want to be
Yes.
dumb and stupid with every dime you make, but if it's in the name of a personal investment that's going to yield me back time, and that's kind of what I said. I was like, all I'm looking for is for this to buy me back time.
Yeah, and that's like saying to a billionaire, well, why don't you mow your own lawn? Why don't you hedge the bushes? Because my time would be better spent going to find new business than not being charged $300 a week for this guy to do it.
Right. It's like if I spend $200 to do my lawn, and it would take me 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's like in that 2 hours, realistically, if I was doing manual cold calling, I could probably make because I'm also buying a power dialer.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I could probably make within those 2 hours 100 and something calls. Because like I said, the power dialer does four numbers at a time. So like you can blow through those. If I could somehow convert one of those into something monetized,
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether it's a residential lead that I list or refer out. Hell, I take that and refer it out to an agent I know already monetized. I'm sure I monetize it for more than $200. My time is better spent cold calling.
Yeah.
My time was better spent putting letters together. If that's what, some people still do. They put their own letters together.
Yeah, like if you have like a $10 million home, I don't think you'll ever see that owner unless it's like a farm owner, in which case, okay, I can understand he's the farmer. But like if you have a luxury $10 million home, it would be jaw dropping if you saw the owner mowing his own lawn. Because if he's like, okay, it's $300 per week, and that is high for around here, but like if they're doing the bushes and they're doing this and that, okay, and if it's a big property, but if it's 2 hours every Saturday times, say you're in a warm climate year round, 52, how many hours is that? You're looking at 104.
Yeah, 104. Yeah, 104 hours spent.
Yeah, so that is about 4 days.
Right.
Mowing the lawn a year. Oh my God.
Right. And it's one thing if like you buy back your time in other avenues because you like mowing the lawn. Like some people love landscaping.
Yes.
Like
if that's like your therapy, if that's like your thing, 100%. But then there's things like tasks like doing your laundry, right? People will pay somebody to clean their house every Saturday and do the laundry. People will like dry cleaning. Like I all my suits, I hang them on my door outside in a weatherproof bag, and they pick it up on Tuesday and drop it off on Thursday. They are clean.
Right.
And like it is so worth it because I'm always wearing suits. And so it's like trying to even just bring it to the dry cleaner is time. It's out of my way. And they just take it.
You know what? It's one of those things where it's like, I remember a long time ago, I think it might have been Josh or you or somebody. Somebody posted something. I think it was Josh when he moved out, and he had said like, I'm moving out well before I probably should or have the means to, but I need to do it to put myself into a new mindset. Like, and I feel like it's the same thing. It's like, you bought the car before it really made sense financially. You bought the suits before it made sense. You started outsourcing parts of your life before it made financial sense. But it made sense for the plan, right? It was like it was part of the plan, and the plan doesn't always follow what the finances at that time call for. And it's a matter of having, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, like enough trust in yourself without really much of a track record either. I mean, you had a bit of a track record with the car detailing and things like that, so you could trust yourself a little bit more to make sure that, I now have a responsibility, like a car payment to make. But reality is that still takes blind faith to a degree in yourself, because especially in an area where it's not guaranteed money. I mean, you need to make sure that you make every dime of that.
Yeah, it's investing in yourself. And Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank speaks about, like, he will overspend on personal things, right? Like, you could eat at McDonald's every single day and save yourself so much money by literally buying like a McChicken for $1. But why don't you do it? Because you care about your health. It's like people that get their hair cut every week, they care about their image. And like they'll overspend on those categories because they're investing in themselves. It's like there's maybe no actual bottom line that analytical people could say, yep, there's an ROI on getting my hair cut every single week. but you come across cleaner when things look cleaner, right? Like when you're meeting a new client, it's not, oh, he hasn't had a haircut in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It's always clean shaven. It's always this or that. Like to overspend on those categories because you're investing in yourself.
Right. No, I like that a lot. I like the I think mindset above all. That's why that's why I put fitness above everything.
Yeah.
That's why.
I feel like that's been hand in hand with my career. Like as it's really started to take off, it was like so did fitness, because like it was the only time that I really had to myself. I've answered plenty of phone calls at the gym and texts and whatnot, but it's just like investing in yourself, because like you would never go to a personal trainer that is fat.
No.
No.
Oh, no.
If there is a personal trainer that is fat, get out of the industry right now.
Please.
Because if you're going to try to
beg
tell me
you.
how to be fit, I will laugh. Like I'm walking away.
Hang on, but you know what's funny though? Is everybody tends to listen to the poor person for financial advice. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Because people in general are notorious for that. That just made me think of that, because I hear so many people say, "Oh, my dad told me not to do this. My mom told me not to do that." I go, "Well, your dad and your mom are I don't want to sound like an asshole saying
but
this,
it's like
your dad and your mom are not the right people to be looking back to for financial advice." It's like same idea with the fat personal trainer.
Yeah.
Or
100%.
like the dermatologist that has a face full of acne.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's a problem some people have, but it's like, it's you got to fit the part. You got to fit the part. That's why fitness has been huge for me. Fitness has just been like my number one go-to.
It hasn't even been like a physical, it's been like a mental too.
That's
like,
why I got in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And that's another thing is like Ryan Serhant has spoken on it. He's like, I've done plenty of multi-million-dollar deals with millionaires, and they want to bring in their parents. They want to bring in their inspector, their relatives, their lawyer, and it's just like so much work. And then he's like, and I will deal with billionaires, and like percentage-wise, maybe they're spending 10 million on like the millionaire side, and the other person could be spending 200 million, right? So like relative to their income or what they have for assets. But the billionaire is not going to bring everyone and their mother into the deal. They're not going to bring their attorney. They're just going to review what they need to and get the deal done, because time is so important to them.
Right.
It's like, I'm not going to, like, I found it in my career as well that I've worked with $1 million buyers that have no problem just signing an exclusive buyer agency agreement with me, working with me, or like being very good at communication and understanding. They'll sit back and say, "You're the realtor. You tell me what you think this is worth. You tell me, because you're always the one." Like, I would not go to a doctor and tell them what I think. Why does everyone think that they know more about real estate when I literally, like, you could tell me a home right now that's for sale in Salem or Manchester or anywhere in between, and I probably know it. I've maybe seen it. I probably pulled the property disclosures on it. Like, then these people, they'll see 3 homes and they think they're some expert, or their parents bought back in 1999 and their parents are some expert because they're homeowners. No, it's like the people with money, they'll delegate things that they know that they're not number one at, and they will delegate to people that they know are. And so they'll be like, okay, what's your advice? I have yet to ever come across somebody that has a budget under $300,000 looking for a condo, really sit back and say, what do you think this is worth? What do you think we should offer? How do we get the winning offer? Ever. Because they always think that they're number one. I've had so many buyers in that or under that price range that want to give me shit for certain things.
Right.
That are reading through the contract, oh my gosh, do I owe you 2% buyer's agency fee? And I'm like, I'm not going to charge you, probably because your budget's so low and we're squeezing this deal. But it's like, I'm not charging you. And they're like, oh, well, it reads weird, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, that's just letting you know I'm getting paid from the listing side. I've worked with multi-million-dollar buyers and they don't even question it.
Right.
They know your time is
Well,
valuable.
I think there's two things about not the first thing is that, you know, I think that one of buying back your time is really the ultimate hack in terms of allowing yourself to progress in life, because if you stay trying to micromanage everything in your life, you have no time to progress. You're only in a management phase.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of that has to do with a millionaire's mindset and their intuition versus a billionaire's mindset and intuition. The billionaires got much better at reading people right away. So the reason why they have more trust is because when they meet you, they get an initial feeling, I trust this person.
Yeah.
They know what trust looks like because they've done it so many times. They've met so many different kinds of people in so many different environments for so many different purposes. And, I think the more you start to learn how to adapt to your intuition, it's a bit easier, right? Like you meet somebody and you say, you know what? He said all the right things. He checked everything on my criteria box for trust. So it's not worth me worrying over. This is why I'm hiring an agent, but I'm not going to hire the wrong agent if I don't feel good about them. I'm just going to tell them I'm not going with them.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, and I think that like the buyers you were talking about who always want to micromanage the deal. It's like, listen, number one, you're not allowing for your intuition to play a part in your life. So you're always micromanaging, and you're so used to micromanaging that there's no room for trust.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. I really like that because that makes so much sense. Like, I could meet a buyer right now and I could tell you without even asking them what their timeline is, I could tell you what their timeline is and if they're ever going to buy. Like, I am so good at reading people and I never really trusted it until like this year. I've met so many clients and I'm like, yep, they are definitely going to buy in the next 2 weeks. Like, I can just, I get it. And then I've had people that tell me they're going to buy in the next 2 weeks. And I've been working with them for 6 months.
Right.
Like, I can just tell within like the first 10 minutes of meeting somebody, not even. I can tell their timeline. I can tell their budget. I can tell because when you're first meeting a client, you may be meeting them at the property, and the property is worth, say, I don't know, 500,000, and you have the questions like, have you looked into financing? Have you looked into possibly a proof of funds? Like, how are we going to go throughout this sale? And so I can already tell by the way someone talks, simply by the way they talk and the way they like stand, everything about them, the way they come across, if they are going to meet that budget.
Right.
And it's going to work. And it's just, it's not a bad thing, but people are just so easy to read in that aspect. I've really been able to figure that out in the last year. So like, I don't even ask people really what their timeline is. It's just too easy.
Right.
Every once in a while, you come across a person that's very hard to read. And I mean, at that point, okay, you're going to have that. But there's people that are just like, you can tell they're going to drag their feet throughout everything. And they're going to find the perfect property.
Right.
And then when the perfect property comes up, there's another perfect property.
Right.
And it's like, you pick one.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Is that would you say that is a skill that you can acquire or a skill that you're born with?
I would definitely say acquire. Because who I was when I was a kid versus who I am now is like so totally different. Like, I'm most definitely not like the most extroverted person ever, but I'm not the most introverted person ever. And I would say like I have become more extroverted as I've gotten into the industry because that's what it requires. And like when I was in like school, like I would say middle school and below, like I was not the extroverted person at all. I was very introverted, and you probably wouldn't even really know that by the way I carry myself now or the way I talk. Like, there's definitely situations where I can see myself, I'm like, yo, that was the most introverted thing I've ever done. Like, that conversation was not the best I've ever had, but um, like, I've definitely taught myself to be that way. And so I don't think I think it is absolutely a skill that you can teach yourself. Like, um, what's the guy, Wolf of Wall Street? What's his
Jordan
name?
Belfort.
Yes. He always talks about tonality, right? And being in sales. And I mean, I guess, like, yes, I'm in sales, but it's like I'm not really here to sell homes, right?
Right.
Like, it doesn't really make sense. I'm here to sell somebody on why they should use me versus another agent because any other agent can get you the house. I mean, yes, maybe they'll have more competitive strategies or this or that. Brian Serhant always talks about nobody wants to be sold, they want to shop with friends. And so nobody wants to walk into a house and be like, this is the one for you. You should buy it. This is the one. If I can tell, you can very easily read somebody like what they're looking for. I met a client 2 weeks ago and we were looking at the first property and he was talking about his property. He was showing me pictures of his yard work. I hadn't even seen the inside of this house. And we're looking at this property in Derry and I'm like, this is not the one for you. And he's like, what? I'm like, it's not. I'm like, yes, it's very close to what you're looking for in terms of location because he's looking for like Derry, Londonderry, Wyndham. But I'm like, this is not the property because what you're showing me is the most pristine landscaping I've seen. He's talking about he put in this walkway, he did this and that to the house. He is a very detail oriented person, and you could tell a very non detail oriented person lives there. Floors are scratched, place smells like pets. There's hamsters in the basement. Like, it was just like there was water outside, siding was just like moved and it was like wrong. And there was just like so many little things that we could nitpick all day about. And I knew it off the bat. First time meeting him, what type of person he is. The second he showed me those pictures, I'm like, this is not it. And he was taken back the fact that I even said that. Because most people were like, you go see a house, people think it's like sales, like, oh, you should buy this. You go to a used car dealership, this is the one for you.
Right.
And so we went and saw a second property. Nope, I don't like it. That one had a horrible smell. And the siding looked vinyl on the pictures, but it wasn't. It was like a clapboard. And he has a vinyl sided house built in 2015. I'm like, your house is like basically as new as it gets. And so we're looking at homes in the mid 80s, and these people didn't take care of them. And I'm like, you would be downgrading by a lot
Right.
to get into these homes. They may be very close to location that you're looking for, but not like at all what your standards are. And so, like, Jordan Belfort talks about it, and he's like, tonality is everything because you can be talking to somebody, but you have to match somebody's tone. Like, if somebody's like super enthusiastic about something, be enthusiastic. But if you're like, oh, yeah, I can show you that house, and they're like super enthusiastic about it, they're going to be like, what is
You
this
throw them
guy?
off.
Yeah.
You throw them off.
And like, if vice versa, and they're like super, okay, yeah, Saturday works. I'm looking to be like, awesome, yeah, see you Saturday at 11 a.m. Like, no, that'll like freak them out. You have to meet that. And then he talks about like making something more personal and almost sounding like a secret, like something like you're just telling somebody is whispering. Is like, I'm not saying like whisper in someone's ear, but like if you just bring your tone down and you're like, and this property, it has this and that, and you know what's going in next door is the nicest restaurant that is locally known, whatever, blah blah blah. And like you're like your tonality's high, bring it low.
It's like
And
it's like when you make content, right? You make a reel, and you cut from different camera angles, you cut to different lightings, you put those overlay videos on. It's keeping the engagement, that up and down tonality,
yeah,
and it's also emphasizing, right? Like you can't highlight a word when you're talking.
Yes.
So
But you can highlight it by lowercasing it.
lowercasing it.
Yes.
Exactly, because it's like we talk at a certain monotone, and 99% of the time it's not okay to just scream
Yeah.
in the middle of your sentence.
Yes.
So the only way to emphasize it is to come down like that.
Yeah.
And it emphasizes whatever it is that you're trying to push. So like you said, it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, whatever. You give them whatever it is that you're looking for. And the best part, they're putting a restaurant next door. And you maybe don't go down that low. But the idea is that, now they're going to question. I feel like sometimes you could use it to give them some mystery. Like, wait, why did he emphasize that? Is that a good thing? Is that something I should be looking out for?
Exactly.
You
This
know what
is
I mean?
literally this is something that we learned at Realty One Group. Like, this is like training that we've been like tonality, like everything. And so to take these courses, like it taught me a lot of things. So like I apply them to situations all the time. Like, I mean, I guess you could use the tonality thing. You absolutely can use it in real estate. But like some of the more easy things to think about is like if you're buying a car and they're like, this car is $50,000, but if you buy it today, I'll give it to you for 48.
Yeah.
And it's like,
is
that a good deal?
Right.
Because it already sounds like a
it's
good
also
deal.
where you start as well. Like, you wouldn't want to say, well, I mean, I guess in theory, that wouldn't be as compelling if you said, I'll give this car to you for 48,000. Usually it's 50. It doesn't sound like you're getting a good deal.
Yeah.
For some reason. But if you say it's 50,000, you heighten their emotion. Shit, it's 50 grand. But I'll give it to you for less. You always want to impress somebody. You always want to have the shock factor.
Yeah.
And that's tonality. That's a form of tonality in not necessarily in like a vocal way as much as just a strategic tonality. You set their tone, their vibe high and impress them low.
I watched a little reel yesterday, and maybe it's on other people's timelines, but it was Shaq, and he bought a motorcycle for like 50 grand. And so he drove it to some club, and people were asking him how much he paid for it. And he was like, I paid 150 for it. And so he knew the business owner, and so he's like, and the business owner was like, why did you tell him that? And he's like, because when they come to you and they're expecting to pay 150 and you give them it to 100, like you sound like the man. A $50,000 discount, and I get the same bike that Shaq has. But he really just upsold them $50,000, but made the business owner look like he was giving a steal from 150 to 100.
Yeah, so he set the price, and that's not a pull everybody has, but that's absolutely just another strategy when you do have leverage. It's setting the perceived value much, much higher than it is. And, that's why we make offers. That's why, like, the way I make offers on properties is like, I mean, it's tough to make offers horrendously low right now just because they don't even get looked at. But, there is a strategy behind it. It's very simple. It's like, listen, if you're listing this at 300 and I want to close on it for 250, I'm not going to offer you 250 right away.
Yeah.
That'd be stupid. If I offered you 250, that's when the negotiation starts.
Yep.
Right. And the same idea with car sales, same idea with Shaq's bike. It's like he knew that nobody was going to pay 150 for it, but if he at least said it was 150, people will think that they're getting a deal. It's the perceived value is 150, so anything less than that is a deal. It's a steal. So I like that. I like that a lot. All right, closing out here a little bit. A couple things I like to do. Number one is I like to get your 1, 3, 5, and 10-year goals. This doesn't have to be exclusive to business or real estate. It can be. It can be whatever you want.
All right. I'll do like business and then personal separately. So I guess my 1 year, I'm going to go calendar year. So December, right? So a couple months from now, is to do anywhere from 13 million to 14 million in sales volume. What were the other numbers? Like the two year?
1, 3, 5, and 10.
1, 3, 5. Okay, so my 3-year goal is to be doing 30 million a year, my 5-year goal in real estate is, I would probably say, from 60 to 75 million. And in 5 years, I'll have 2 multifamilies. And my tenure is to, that's when I want my custom house built. That's when I want that crazy wild house that I dream of, because like I'm going to bring in a builder. I'm going to have like the craziest lot. Like I will tear down a $3 million beachfront home. I do not care, because I'm going to put a $20 million home right there. Like it's going to be crazy. It's drummed up in my mind, and like it will only have 2 garage bays, but they're not going to be like normal. It's going to be a glass garage door, 2 of them side by side, and you can pull your car in to park it like a normal garage. But then there's another garage door further in, right? Another glass garage door, and you can open that, and then when you drive your car in there, it's a showroom as well as a lift to work on cars.
Like Manny, what's his last name? The guy with all the Bugattis, and he's got the showroom for his
Kind
car.
of. Yeah, I honestly, now that I've explained it, I guess it really sounds like Tony Stark's house.
Or that, yeah.
So like his garage, like that is the dream. As for bedrooms, bathrooms, I haven't gotten there yet because I care more about the
All the
garage.
car. I'm the same way, dude. Like I started building. I pulled up Minecraft, believe it or not, to build my dream house on it.
Yeah.
And it's like a
that's
giant barn
awesome.
dominium. The only reson I want a barn dominium is because the warehouse size garage.
Yes.
Like I want
Yeah,
a
that's
gym in
cool.
there. I want a bar, man cave, and then I want all the boats, and then the cars in
Yeah.
a certain spot. Like that's all I think about too.
Yeah. I want the infinity pool, the hot tub, the sauna.
Yeah.
I even want a small lap pool in the basement. I want a full gym, 100%, because it's a 15-minute, 20-minute drive to the gym for me. Like it's actually quite far. So I spend 40 minutes a day going to the gym. And that's not going to the gym. That's
Right.
just driving. So like to cut that back and have a full gym in the house would be crazy.
I don't think I could ever give up going to the gym. Something about the gym atmosphere. Maybe not Planet Fitness.
There definitely is.
Not Planet Fitness.
Yeah,
but
there's absolutely, like, I love meeting people at the gym. It's fantastic. And I would not lose my gym membership. I would still keep it.
Yeah.
But it's just like, there are so many times I find that like even Planet Fitness that's 24 hours is not 24 hours.
Oh, it's not anymore. No, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
The only one that I can think of is Nashua. And the
Hey,
amount of the Haverhill.
No, I was just saying it at least keeps us
Oh.
going to bed at a fairly decent hour. Because if it was 24 hours, dude, I don't think I'd ever sleep.
So the Nashua one, something Coliseum Ave or whatever, that one's 24 hours. And the amount of times I have driven 40 minutes to Nashua from my house at midnight, and my dad is like, "What on earth are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm going to the gym." He's like, "Can you do that tomorrow?" And then I'm like, "No, because then I'd be going to the gym tomorrow."
Right. Or yeah, I will be doing it tomorrow, but I'm also doing it today.
Yeah.
It's like
Even though it's like technically tomorrow, it's like 1 a.m. To me, the day hasn't ended and still I'm sleeping. Like,
that's the benchmark. That's absolutely the benchmark.
like minimum going to the gym that day. And I mean, to get a little bit back on topic with like personal life, I guess I wouldn't say, definitely not in the next 4 months I'd be moved out of the house. So I would just refer back to real estate for the personal goal. I guess I would just say like on like a very small level, like meal prep better, because the amount of times I'm eating my first meal and it's 8 p.m. Like it's way too common. And like, yes, I may be regimented and still go to the gym, but you're never going to gain any muscle eating at 8 p.m. to midnight at all. Because like there's so many times I will go to the office, I'm just slammed with work. I'm driving around here or there. I literally don't have time to eat. And so I guess to give myself a lunch break and just meal prep, like give myself like a couple hours every week where I spend the time making the food, because I will find myself starving.
Buy the meal preps.
Yes, that's another thing I want to delegate in the future, because I'm delegating so many things at once right now that will be the next thing. 100%.
I was gonna say that would make the most. I'm ready to do that.
Yes.
Is buy the meal preps.
Yes, absolutely. So my 3-year goal would definitely be absolutely have a multifamily. My goal is to have that, not this calendar year, maybe not next calendar year, but like the very beginning of the next calendar year. And so my 3-year goal would be have my first 3-family, or maybe a duplex, depending upon location and purchase price and condition, because that matters too. Like if it was like the perfect duplex and you got it for like 300,
Right.
which is way off the market, probably a tear down almost at that point.
Right.
Like it would have to be fully gutted, but like to at least have the first multifamily or investment property. 5-year goal is to have definitely the second, because it should not be hard after that. After you have the first one, it's just easier. And then my 10-year goal,
Be 34 by that point.
yeah, I don't even know. But sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing an hour from now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like I'm referring back to my schedule all the time. I feel like I'm so busy that I'll tell friends, I'm like, put that in my calendar. Send me a calendar
Oh,
invite.
dude, I tell friends, like, they're like, you want to hang out? I'm like, yeah, let me check my schedule. All right, yeah, can you text me to confirm that so I can
Yeah.
put it in? Like, I'll do that all the time too.
Yes. Yep. And I'll even do it myself, because I know I have friends that won't put it in their calendar or send me the invite. I'll send it to them, and like I'll send them the request to accept it or whatnot. Cause like it's like today, I was so busy in the office. My client calls me and they were just talking through some things. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to be at their house in 35 minutes. It was a 30-minute drive. If they didn't call me and like I wasn't looking at my calendar, I would not have been there on time. Like there's days where I'm living by my calendar, and some days I'm just like swamped with stuff in the office. And unfortunately, those days I'm not as on top of my calendar. And so to miss those deadlines would be crazy. So it's okay, I'm doing it this time. I'm going to move going to the gym before or after, or I'm going to do this. It's like still going to get done, but I just need to know when.
Right.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, how many hours a day do you think you work?
Too many. 14.
Okay.
15, maybe
Yeah.
16.
Okay.
Cuz like if I'm not working and I have a free moment, I have anxiety.
I do too. Yeah. That's
And
why I ask, because
yeah.
I feel like I'm not alone in
Yeah.
that, but I
'Cause
like to ask
yes.
people that, because it's like that's what this business calls for, is a ridiculous amount of hours. We work
Yeah.
more than doctors. I'm convinced. We work more than doctors.
Well, the thing is, doctors will work like 40 hours like straight.
Right.
Like for like 4 days and then have like 3 days off or something like that.
Right. But no, I like asking that, because, I like also setting the tone for the audience. Like, understand that this business is not a
No.
cakewalk.
No, because I wouldn't say when I got into it that I thought it was a cakewalk, because I have family in real estate. But I thought it would be easier. And I mean, I guess I kind of have a handicap because I have no sphere. Nobody like right off the bat trusts me or wants to go with me. They'd go with the family member that's already been in the business for so long. So when they think of real estate, they think, oh, you got into it because of your family. No, we actually all compete with each other. Like we're not even at the same brokerage. And so like I thought it was going to be easier, and then I realized quite quickly that it's not. And
Yet.
yes, absolutely. Like you're putting in the time now so that you have the time later.
I compare it to like, and hear me out, because it's a cliche at the beginning, a very steep hill.
Oh yeah.
It's a very steep climb. Once you get to the turning point, like everybody says, it's momentum down, but it's enough momentum that the small hills, the small obstacles are no longer a climb, they're a cruise right over. And it's like, it's the big hill. It's depending on how tall you want to make this hill, right?
Yeah.
How big you want to grow that foundation will dictate all the rest of those obstacles that are on the downhill
Yeah.
How much more difficult, right? Because the taller the hill, the taller the drop and the more momentum you follow. So the bigger you build the foundation, the easier it is. So if you build the foundation this tall, some of these humps down the road might actually slow you down. If you build the foundation twice as tall, those humps are nothing.
Yeah. A broker has talked about it before. He's like, in the beginning with real estate, it's, oh my gosh, I have a deal. Oh my gosh, I don't have a deal. Oh my gosh. It's like back and forth, right? It's getting to that point where you're like this, right?
Right.
It's
It's like a pendulum.
it's like, oh my gosh, I have 10 deals. I have 5. I have 10. It's like,
Right.
you're just getting to that point.
10, 20.
Yeah,
10.
exactly. And like you can continue to climb that, but it depends on how ambitious you are because so many people are fine with doing 5 a month, right? Like I'm not saying that I'm doing 5 a month. I've done 5 in a month, but it's like it's still like I want 20 a month.
Right.
Like I
Oh,
want
yeah.
it's like the goals and the ambitions are so high.
Oh, I'm the same way. I was writing down my goals, and I'm like in I want to flip like 20 or 30 homes a year in the next couple of years, right? Like I
Yeah.
want to have 30 doors in the next couple of years. It's like the volume needs to grow immensely, and so it's a matter of building that foundation, in essence. But all right. In the name of time, I have one last tradition that I do
Yep.
with everybody, and so what I do is the last guest, I ask them a question from the prior one.
Oh. Oh, that's good.
And then obviously they get to leave, so you get to leave a question for the next guest. I'm not going to tell you who was on last week, and I'm not going to tell you who's coming on next week. So whatever you ask, it needs to be general enough for whatever industry that they're in. They can answer it and provide value to my audience, which is young entrepreneurs our age,
sweet.
younger than us, and slightly older.
Yes.
All right. So the last guest asked, what does success look like to you, and when did you begin to understand what it meant? And has it ever changed for you? So we can go one piece at a time if you want.
Okay. So read me the beginning.
So what does success look like to you?
I would say like yeah, all of our goals are to make a lot of money, but it's really at the end of the day, it is to be comfortable. I never want to like I want to be able to walk out and purchase a new car cash if I need to. I want to and if I do ever decide to have kids, not blink an eye at how much they cost cuz boy, do they cost a lot of money. They're so expensive. So like to never be like, "Oh no, we can't do that right now. Maybe we can do that another time." Like and it's not that if I had kids I'd want to like spoil them because I feel like I'd be a pretty strict dad. Like no, you're not getting anything for free. I think Kevin Hart is the one that's like my kids aren't getting any of my money. I mean, I wouldn't go to that extent.
No, I'd leave this
'Cause
off the butt.
Exactly, yeah. Like I want to build that like generational wealth, but it's being comfortable, right? It's not worrying about I want to be able to go on vacation this year. Can I afford it? 100% I can afford it. Like I'm not even going to look at my bank account. I don't want to think about eating out every day. And not that I want to go out and eat somewhere, but like you could like we talked about is like meal prepping, paying for those meals and like to not think about it. Like Ryan Serhant at his office, he's got a kitchen and there's meal prep in there every day. He's not the one that makes it. He doesn't have the time to do that. He's delegating all of these small little tasks. And so he can use his time more wisely. I guess just value my time better and live comfortably.
Live in a place of abundance.
Yeah.
Okay. When did you understand that version of success?
When did I or like
Yeah, when did you begin to understand what it meant?
I don't know. Like when did I understand that it wasn't just having the fancy car, it was having the
Right.
time. Honestly, in this year.
So early.
Yeah. Like
Oh, sorry, not early, late, but recent.
Yeah, I think it really came when like I was actually starting to really do business, and I was like, okay, like things are turning, but I have no time on my hands to do these little things. And so I'd start delegating them. So then I realized I had just seen so many videos on like time over money because it's just so important. Like we only have so much of it. So I'm not going to spend my time doing these little things because it's going to eat into my business and my personal life. And so to understand that was huge. And so like my mindset a year ago was, oh no, I can do that myself. I'm going to save the money. And so now it's I'd rather spend it doing other things.
Right. And since you kind of figured out what that version of success was this year, I assume I know the answer to this already, but has that version ever changed, or has your version of success ever changed?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Because like before it was just, I want the nice house.
Right.
And now it's like,
Shallow.
yeah, like I would be okay with having like a an average house, but only in the sense that I know I could afford the really nice house
Right.
because I don't mind living very well within my means, but it's just knowing that I can and that I'm comfortable and that my time is spent doing better things.
Right. Yeah, I like that. The abundance mindset.
Yes.
What do you got for the next guess?
Oh, it's a tough one because like, oh, my mind is so real estate, so I gotta like get out of that and just think of like some business questions.
Or lifestyle. Anything.
Hmm.
And take as much time as you need because I can cut, you know, if there's a huge break, I can cut it out.
Okay. And I have a great question. At what point is enough? Right? Because like all entrepreneurs usually have the mindset that like once you're at that goal, there's another one. There's a higher one.
Right.
Like at what point are you comfortable with what you have? And could you see yourself like relaxing at that point? Or would you continue to push? Because like Ryan Serhant, he didn't need to do all those deals.
Right.
Like he could have done half of that and been very comfortable. And I guess another thing I'd ask is, have you ever put your health behind your business? Like, have you ever put like your business over that? Because like that's another thing like you should never do. Because maybe the next person's into fitness.
You know what's even better? It's just passion. I wrote down, have you ever chosen passion over health? Doesn't even matter if it's business.
Yeah, that's good.
You know what I mean? It's like the only person I so far I've had on that's not like self-employed or business oriented is a psychology major, and all those questions would apply.
Yeah.
So awesome. I'm gonna
End it here?
No, yeah, in a second.
No, we're here until midnight.
Yeah, no, we have another 2 hours. No,
Start right now.
that was just the intro.
Awesome, guys. Welcome to the intro of this podcast. Please enjoy the next 4 hours.
Yeah. As I run out of spaces, I'm watching my gigabytes just drop.
Oh, you can see it?
I have it on this screen.
Oh.
Yeah, because every time so far, I'm glad it hasn't happened yet. Knock on wood, it stays that way. I run out of storage midway, and I have to go transfer it to my hard drive.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Takes like half an hour. So, with that being said, Andrew, I appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the value you brought.
Oh, it's awesome. This is my first podcast I've ever been on.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, you kicked ass on it. I just wanted to tell you too. I know, you and I have known each other for a year now, roughly.
Yeah.
And, if I could give you any credit, I think it'd be that I'm genuinely impressed with where you were when we met a year ago and where you are today, where you've not just on the real estate front. I mean, the real estate front, you're killing it. You're killing it on the personal branding front, on the fitness front, everything. I've seen a shitload of growth, and it's very telling of the people that you surround yourself with, which is awesome. But
I appreciate that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's been inspirational, man. I appreciate you coming
Yeah.
on. Is there anything you want to plug before we cut it off?
Not really. I mean,
Any
if you're
socials?
looking for a home, hit me up.
Listed by Whelan
Listed by Whelan.
on
yes.
Instagram.
Yep, my suit. This one only says listed, but my new one says listed by Whelan on the inside.
That's such a flex.
Yes. Question. Is this mine?
Yeah, did I not tell you at the beginning?
No.
I'm sorry.
I did not know this water was for me.
Yeah.
I didn't know. That's awesome, because I could have used that water.
Dude, I was looking at you and I'm like,
Oh,
should I remind him? I thought I told you. I'm sorry, man.
I am so thirsty
Go
right
for
now.
a chug. All right. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Awesome.